Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 3 Wide TV and tonight's broadcast of the ASRS Sim Marketing Solutions Cup Series here from Daytona Beach, Florida, down on the sunny beaches. And let me tell you, we got an absolute spectacular race lined up for you here tonight at the Daytona International Speedway. It's 2.5 miles, it's restrictor plate, it's bumping and banging. This should be a good one. I'm joined in the booth here with Tanner Sharp, and of course with the camera shots here tonight, it's Carlos Acosta. And my oh my, Tanner, I've been looking forward to this race since the beginning of the season. Most leagues start at Daytona, but here it's the 5th round of the season, so these drivers already have a few races underneath their belt. Tell us a little bit about Daytona.
Well, Daytona International Speedway is one of the most historical landmarks in motorsport racing. It is 2.5 mile super speedway with 31 degrees of banking in the corners of the racetrack. That tri-oval is also treacherous with 18 degrees of banking. This track opened up in 1959 and has seen some unbelievable finishes since then, including the 1959 Daytona 500, the 2007 Daytona 500, as well as the 2016 Daytona 500. So there's been a lot of historical landmarks that have happened at this point, and today is going to be no different because we're going to see some of the best of the ASRS Sim Marketing Solutions Cup Series drivers really hit the super speedway track and start driving each other. You got to keep an eye out for big.
Yeah, and you kind of see it right there. All these drivers went out for some drafting practice here just at the end of the practice session. We got about 5 minutes left, and you got to see the number 16 car, Alexander Pelican, get turned around a little bit further back. That is the big one. It's the big accident. Everyone will be watching out for it. And really, there's two strategies to get around Daytona. You can either stay in front of the big one, or you can lay back and be, or hope to be, far enough back from the big one that everyone can kind of slow up and miss it. So, you know, we'll get to see those two strategies, I'm sure, in play here tonight, especially with such a big field. 36 cars will be taking the green flag here tonight, and we get a fairly sizable race here. So, oh, there's another big wreck here in practice. Cars everywhere. My, oh my, that's a that's a big one. I'm sure all these drivers are happy to see that this is just practice as someone goes flipping on by. There's Evan Black in the number 92. But yeah, it can happen really fast, Tanner.
It definitely can here, Peter, because at a track like this, some drivers here on the sim are kind of still accustomed to the two-car tandem, even though we haven't seen that in years. You really have to leave a gap between the front bumper and the back bumper of somebody here at Daytona because A, of net code, and it can be very significant here on the plate track. And B, if you start bump drafting in the corner, you're accidentally going to hook somebody, and then a big wreck is going to happen, and then the finger's going to be pointed at you, and that's not going to be a good feeling. So you really have to keep an open mind and, you know, just watch out for others out there as you're racing here tonight.
Yeah, it definitely takes some patience to get to victory lane here. You can't really push things too early, or else you could get into some pretty big trouble. I know I've raced Daytona many times and gotten into lots of trouble very early. Hopefully we get to see some patience from these drivers, and hopefully all 36 can get to the finish, but I doubt that's going to happen because all action happens here at Daytona. All kinds of action as you're looking down on Lake Lloyd, and from the blimp cam here at Daytona, you can see all 2.5 miles of this circuit. You can see the first international horseshoe from the road course. We're not running that road course tonight, but that road course was in action just a few weeks ago here on the iRacing service with the 24 hours of Daytona. So Daytona, a very popular track amongst all drivers. Well, we've had already 4 races this season, and if you haven't been with us here on 3 Wide TV, Jared Mogard has won 3 of the first 4 races. His only race that he did not win, he finished second at Bristol Motor Speedway. So he is on top of the points by 40 points over Corey Silva and Corey Silva's teammate, Evan Black, who's just 2 points behind Corey. So those two drivers, for Primetime Motorsports, they're looking for a great run here tonight. Maybe be able to pick up some points on Mogard because, you know, anyone can win at Daytona. It does take skill, don't get me wrong, to be up there at the front at the finish here because, you know, you have to be able to see the air at Daytona. But, you know, it's one of those tracks where Jared Mogard might just be able to be toppled from his top spot. Let's just go down the order here in practice. Up top is currently Joe Burchett in that number 67 machine. Jason Stewart is in second in the number 1 machine. Sam Maxwell is third in the number 98. And I got to hear a little bit about Sam Maxwell here in practice. That guy was hitting over 204 miles an hour on entry into the corner. So that number 98 Ford will be really fast tonight. Fourth position, we have Brandon Stokes, Tim Knott in fifth, Jared Haggerty, Mitch Brown, Jim Foose, Jack Wells, and Richard Fletcher round out your top 10. Richard Fletcher is in that number 47 machine. He's actually making his first start here tonight in the ASRS Sim Marketing Solutions Cup Series for the Sackett and Brake Survey 200 miles, 80 laps here tonight. As the practice session winds down, all the drivers are in their drivers' meeting, and that is why the track has currently gone quiet. As you look across Lake Lloyd, I think I've seen quite a few people going down there to fish over the years, so maybe pick up some bass while we're down there. Mr. Cameraman, Carlos Acasa, we'll have to see if he likes fishing.
Yeah, definitely. That lake has also seen boat races too in years past here in Daytona, and there is a reason why there is a lake there. It wasn't just placed there for the heck of it. It's because all the dirt from the 31 degrees of banking. That's the reason right there. And they have a lake in the middle of Daytona called Lake Lloyd, and just a historical landmark for this track. And there's also an airport behind them grandstands back there. As you can see the grandstands, there's an airport back there where Air Force One landed back in 1984.
Yeah, it's always cool to see airplanes landing, and if you watch closely throughout the broadcast, I'm sure you'll catch a glimpse of a couple planes landing back there here on the iRacing service. I think they tried to model a 767 or something like that, and let me tell you, as someone who's an aviation aficionado, that 767's landing really, really fast. But they modeled it, and you'll get to see it a little bit tonight throughout this race. As the clock now turns down to 0, we now go into the qualifying session here in just a second. And Tanner, tell us a little bit about how important qualifying is at Daytona.
Well, you want to, if I was out there, I want to be qualifying up towards the front, just because there's always a chance on where that big one's going to happen. But if you qualify mid-pack, it's just even a higher chance that you're going to be involved in the accident. So up towards the front is going to be very key here in Daytona, but it's very hard because you're flat out and belly to the ground. You're not even lifting entering the corners, so it's practically just carry as much speed as you can and hope for the best.
Yeah, Daytona is a fairly unique track to qualify at because, you run your first out lap here on the apron. You have to stay down there until you have reached the blue cone, but then you'll see all these drivers jump up to the high side and they'll run up by the wall to get as much momentum as they can. That larger radius out there means they have more track to gain speed, and also don't have to turn the wheel as much to scrub off as much speed. As you see Edward Bray, he's actually jumping down to the bottom, so we'll have to see how that pans out for him. But typically you'll see these drivers running right up there at the top to straighten out the track as much as possible, which gives them the maximum amount of speed for their second time lap. Your first time lap, you typically want to run up near the wall so you can just continue to gather that momentum, and then on the second lap you will run down on the bottom. But you see Edward Bray, he's now running a little bit higher line through 1 and 2. I think he's going to try and keep that momentum up as he's running just above those white lines. There is Jim Foose, league owner, running that beautiful number 42 machine here tonight. It's a great paint scheme on that ride, as he's going to hit the line here at about 180 miles an hour, and he'll go off on his first time lap trying to get that. And you'll notice that we are in a closed qualifying session here this week. Previous weeks we have done open qualifying. Last week at Pocono week we did closed qualifying as well. But these drivers now all on track at the same time, trying to get the best lap in. And it'll be interesting to see if we catch a cloud throughout these 10 minutes, because getting a cloud actually does give the car a little bit more performance. A little bit cooler air temperature gives it a little bit more horsepower. But currently all the track is in the sun.
Yeah, most definitely here in Daytona. As you can see, Jim Foose right here is still right next to the high line. Might start a second lap and jump to the bottom here. But, Daytona, like I said, it's just flat out here. There's not too much handling right here going on since you're by yourself. But when you get in a pocket full of air with drivers during drafting, there's so much air moving around the cars here in the simulation. It's what makes the cars dance around. It can be very uncomfortable settings. So patience is going to be 100% the key to try to win tonight's race for sure. And praying. You got to pray too, because you don't want to be involved in that big one. Because these Daytona and Talladega races are always a flip of a coin whenever we come here.
Yeah, I haven't won at Daytona too many times throughout my sim racing career, but let me tell you, the times that I have won at Daytona, I've had a little bit of luck go my way. As you see, times starting to trickle in. Currently, Clarence Bonner is at the top of the charts in that number 99 machine. He's at a 47.953. Josh Walker just about 3/1000ths of a second off him. As you're looking at the number 97, Andy Veltman, he's taking time in that machine. And look at those times up at the top. We got about, I don't know, 1/100th of a second separating your top four currently, and I guess a 1/100th of a second separating your top five, as Kelsey Rogers also up there in the fourth position.
It's kind of a good position. It's kind of a good thing we're doing a single car qualification, because if there was multiple cars on the track, they'd be drafting with each other trying to get the best time. There's a difference between 200 to 204 miles an hour to where you're just running out by yourself with 185 miles an hour. That's huge. So far, Clarence is on that pole spot. So hopefully he's able to keep that with Josh Walker, Alexander Pelikins up there, and Andy Veltman, Kelsey Rogers rounding out that top five. So I'm seeing a lot of guys who really kind of started mid-pack at this season, during the season so far, but they're still qualifying up towards the front here on the plate track, and it kind of gives everybody the chance that it really evens out the playing field on plate tracks.
Yeah, definitely so. And I'm just looking through your current running order. Jared Mogard, he's won 3 of the first 4 races, but he's currently 27th on that speed chart. So all the way down there, and some of that might be strategy, because you either want to be up front or you want to kind of be near the back. You just don't want to be in the center of the storm, because being in the center here at Daytona, being mid-pack, is like being in the center of a storm. You got cars in front of you that are bump drafting, having to check up. You might have some overheating issues. If one car is a little bit up front, that car might be trying to duck out, and it just causes an accordion effect. And if you're in the middle of the pack, sometimes it can be very difficult to check up, and you can cause some big problems that way. I know I've been involved in many wrecks where it all happens in the center of the field. As you're watching the number 1 on track, that's Jason Stewart in that Sim Marketing Solutions Toyota Camry. He's going to take time here. In fact, he should be on his second lap here.
I have never, as long as I've been racing here on iRacing, and we go to Daytona and Talladega, anytime I had a checkup, I never use the brake unless I necessarily have to. I'm always getting off the gas, because it slows down my momentum so much, and I can just, it feels like a brake because the way the draft works. But sometimes if there's a huge checkup, you kind of have to hit the brakes a little bit. But if you're avoiding an accident, obviously you're going to hit the brakes. But the problem is with that is you can't necessarily see the car in front of you. So if a wreck does occur, you're just seeing smoke and a car ahead of you, and you're just praying to get through. So these races are so unpredictable. It's going to be a wild one for 80 laps here tonight.
Absolutely. And all 36 of the starters have taken time here at Daytona. So the track has gone silent with about 3 minutes, 18 seconds left. So it does look like Clarence Bonner in the 99 will be on pole for this one. You do have a couple people near the back of the grid: Christopher Lane, Brandon Stokes, Ty Hester, Jimmy McKee. They actually weren't able to qualify for tonight's race. We had a lot of entries for the race here tonight, and we had a pre-qualifying session to determine who was going to make it in the field. The top 20 in points are locked in, and going through that top 20, Jared Mogard is first, Corey Silva second, Evan Black third, Alan Young is tied for third, but Evan Black has the tiebreaker. Will Worsler is fifth. He was the only man to break Jared Mogard's win streak. He did so at Bristol Motor Speedway. Danny Rogers is 6th. Mitch Brown, is 7th. Brad Cross 8th. Alexander Pelican 9th. Michael Krobach is 10th in points, 59 points off of Mogard's pace. Andy Veltman 11th. Tim Knott 12th. Jim Foose 13th. Richard Stallings 14th. Clarence Bonner currently on the provisional pole. He's in 15th position in points, looking for a good night here. Kelsey Rogers 16th. He actually has taken one provisional this year. He did not start the first race of the year. He's down in 16th in point. Troy Haight 17th. Joseph Saville 18th. Jared Haggerty 19th. And Jason Stewart is 20th. So those top 20 were locked into the show here tonight. And everyone else had to qualify on pace in the pre-qualifying session. And one of those drivers who was able to make it in, I do believe, I'm trying to remember who it was now. Richard Fletcher. Richard Fletcher actually is getting his first start here tonight. He hasn't qualified for any of the races so far this year, but he's here tonight in that number 47 Ford, so keep an eye out for him. He's currently 21st on the speed chart, as we just have about a minute left, Tanner.
Yeah, and now it's just the anticipation of the race to start, because it's probably one of the biggest races of the season, to where you're just going to gather up them butterflies, and it's going to happen during them pace laps. But once they drop the green flag, it's go time. I always say you can plan things at Daytona until they drop the green flag. So it's going to be a wild race from start to finish. And hopefully these guys can actually maybe take it easy like the first half of the race and kind of go right at it, because fuel window is only like 40 to 45 laps approximately. So here in Daytona. So, and that's another thing, is if you do pit under green, don't beat yourself on pit road. If you beat yourself on pit road, you're done. That costs you the race, unless you can get a lucky caution out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. I mean, I've won races at Daytona by pitting well, and I have lost races here by pitting poorly. So definitely, if we do get a green flag pit stop, hopefully everyone can make it or break it on pit road. And one thing to also be mindful of is the blue cone. If these drivers are coming off pit road, they do have to stay below that yellow line until they've passed the blue cone, and that we'll just have to watch out for that. I'll make sure no one gets a penalty here tonight, as everyone is starting to grid up here at Daytona. The butterflies are all in their stomachs here for the Sackett and Brake Survey 200 miles around the famous Daytona International Speedway. It should be a lot of fun.
It's most definitely going to be fun indeed, as these drivers are starting to grid up and they're ready to go. It's playtime's over. It's now trying to go on out there and get the track position. If you're starting mid-pack, drivers such as Jim Foose, Jared Haggerty, Sam Maxwell, Ryan Yazik, Jared Mogard, those guys are going to be in the eye of the storm for a while, unless they can hang back and just take it easy the remainder of the race for at least for a while and figure some kind of strategy up towards the front.
Yeah, definitely some big names a little bit further back in the pack. Well, let's take you through tonight's starting lineup for the Sackett and Brake Survey 200. Starting on the pole is the number 99 of Clarence Bonner. To his outside is Josh Walker in the number 58. On row number 2, Alexander Pelican. Great qualifying by him. We've seen some good runs out of him so far. And to his outside, Andy Veltman in the 97. On row number 3, Kelsey Rogers in the number 35. Also seen some great runs out of him so far this year. And Michael Krobach looking for a good finish here tonight. On row number 4 is Brad Cross in that bright orange number 30 Speed Energy machine. And just to his outside is the 46 of Robbie Baskins. Row number 7 has the number 92 Evan Black. Evan Black third in points, looking for a good points night here tonight. Jack Wells to his outside in P10.
In position 11, Mitch Brown is going to start 11th tonight. Jeremy Banning is going to start in 12th. Tim Knott in 13th. Danny Rogers in the 14th position. Pete Baskins 15th. League organizer Jim Foose going to roll off in the 16th position. Richard Stallings in 17th. Jared Haggerty in the 18th spot. 19th, Sam Maxwell, who hit a top speed of 204 miles an hour. Let's see if he can keep that up in the race session, because that's going to show tons of speed. Lee Staples rounding out with the top 20.
Richard Fletcher making his first start of the year in that number 47 machine will start 21st to his outside, the number 1 of Jason Stewart. On row number 12, Brian Yazik in the number 55, coming back here tonight after not being here last week. And we'll start in the 23rd position, and 24th will be Edward Bray. 25th position, we have Corey Silva, second in points. He's looking for a good night here tonight. Jamie Vaughn in the number 12 starts 26th. In the 27th position, we have Scott Smith and Joe Burchett in 28th. Alex Geese in 29th, and the season point leader so far, Jared Mogard, will start in P30.
Stephen Trombley is going to start in the 31st position. Will Worsler, for the first time this season, outside the top 30. He's going to start 32nd. Tyler Sawville in 33rd. Alan Young, 34th. Troy Haight will start in 35th. Last driver to take qualification time is Travis Rucker. And Nick Coffman in 37th. Christopher Lee, 38th. And I think these guys didn't qualify, apparently. That's Jim McKee, Ty Hester, and Brandon Stokes. Rounding out the rest of the field, that does not qualify. So 36 drivers are taking the field here tonight.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this race as pace car lights are off. You're looking back into the eyes of Clarence Bonner in that number 99 and Josh Walker to his outside as that pace car will get set to dive down pit road here. And it's all in the hands of the 99 as the green flag is in the air here at Daytona International Speedway as Clarence Bonner will hit the stripe first. Josh Walker to his outside. Everyone already thinking about forming up their 2x2 up at the front. And look at this. You'll see this a lot tonight. That outside line is trying to get formed up. And one spot that you can make a move is right here on a restart. If that outside line can get formed up early, they can make a move as they have a great run heading down the backstretch. Josh Walker looking to get some help from Andy Veltman. They're 2x2 about 15 rows back.
Down in turn 3 for the first time with 31 degrees of banking. These drivers can already tell what kind of car that they have already just by the first lap and getting up to speed as Clarence Bonner comes off of turn 4 and he's going to lead the very first lap as that outside row dissipating just a little bit, but give it some time here as I did see Andy Veltman start doing some bump drafting on the very first lap in the middle of the corner. That's something you really got to be careful of as you see Michael Krobach jump down and saw a hole and jump down to the inside line. So the outside row doesn't really have that much of help the draft right now.
Yeah, definitely. If I'm Josh Walker or Andy Veltman, I'm hoping to get down to the bottom groove as quick as possible because they're kind of left out currently, and there's about probably about 10 car lengths, maybe a bit less than that, maybe about 8 car lengths back to Robbie Baskins, who's the next driver up on that high side. But you can see the number 58 is now falling back even further. And hopefully Robbie Baskins can pick up that high line, although they're pretty much side by side back to about the 19th position. And right about there, we get a break in the field. So definitely some of the drivers maybe a little bit further back are going to try and pace themselves. But up here at the front, that inside groove is starting to prevail.
Yeah, oh man, some drivers are already popping on the line, and it looks like some strategies being played by the 51 and the 41. That 51 is Mitch Brown, and the 41, Tim Knott. They're going to the back of the pack right now.
Yeah, they've said, I've seen enough of this up here. They're trying to pick up their teammates. Their teammates of Jared Haggerty and Jason Stewart were right back there at the end of that lead draft, but they lost so much momentum in the number 51 and the 41 that they're going to drop way back in the field. It's nothing to be too concerned about at this point in the race. It's still early going, and this field can condense up pretty quick with this draft. But they're definitely going to the back. It's almost contact a little bit further back. That's Andy Veltman now in that 97. He is left high and dry. He started this race in the 4th position, and now he's being passed by Richard Stallings, who was 14th at the stripe that last time by. So Andy Veltman got no friends up there.
Yeah, he's dropping like a pigeon right now. I mean, just back, and he's going to find a place to line in eventually here. Just nobody wants to work that high line. It is just early in the race right now. They all just want to take it easy and see what they got in the later run.
And no surprise here, but Jared Mogard, your season points leader, he has picked up 7 spots, and so far he's the biggest mover of the race. Him and Edward Bray both have picked up 7 spots since the start of this one, so that number 00 is moving forward throughout this field. As we have basically got single file now throughout this entire field. The only side-by-side battle is back with Alex Geese and Jamie Vaughn. Even they sorted out, so now everyone is single file. As you look at Clarence Bonner leading this field here at Daytona, we'll have completed 5 laps this time by. So you can see he's looking out back on Alexander Pelican in that number 16.
Tell you what, this is a huge freight train of cars indeed, Peter, because I am counting at least 32 cars in the lead draft right now, separated by 3.8 seconds, as Clarence Bonner is the Pod Piper right now around Daytona.
Yeah, it's another about 1.2 seconds back to the next little group of cars. Troy Hates leading a 4-car train back there. And they got 1.2 seconds to Scott Smith in the number 21. Scott making his third start of the season in that number 21 machine. But yeah, I think Scott Smith is actually losing the lead draft a little bit. It can sometimes be really difficult when you're at Daytona if you're further back in the pack to actually keep that draft, especially when you have so many cars nose to tail in front of you that are all drafting together at some pretty high speeds. We're seeing some really high speeds down the straightaway, about 200 miles an hour. As Jared Mogard has gotten fed up with this single file, he's going to try and be the first man to jump up to the high side. He's down in the about the 23rd position or so, and he is starting to make a move up there. Ooh, look at Jared Haggerty. He thought about, Jim Foose now jumping up. That's with Jeremy Banning in the number 15. So definitely some of these drivers getting maybe a little bit impatient at this point. Just everyone running that inside line. And if you can get that high line working, and if that inside line is particularly checking up a lot, you can make that high line work pretty well.
You can, but you're going to need a lot of help, not just 2 cars, because 2 cars is not going to be as strong as a draft unless they are checking up on the inside. So you're really going to have to get a couple guys together if you want to run that higher line.
Yeah, you saw Jim Foose decide better of it. He jumped back down to the low line, although he might be trying to jump up here again, just on the bottom right of your screen. In fact, indeed he is. He's jumped up. Got a couple of extra people with him this time. Looks like Richard Stallings in the 17 is going to go with him and Jeremy Banning. They're trying to use a little bit of side draft through the tri-oval to try and pull their way forward. Can sometimes be really difficult. Richard Stallings thought better of it. He's jumped down to the inside, and Jim Foose has left Banning up there to dry in that number 15. And well, he's going to get some help from Richard Stallings. We'll see how long it lasts. But that inside line is really fast. So Stallings actually let in Banning, so that's good work there. I'm sure those 2 drivers will be working together throughout this one here tonight.
The more the drivers drafting, the mightier it will be. There's just no doubt regarding about that, as we see Krobach trying to make a move on the outside row, and he's one of the front runners up here who actually started in the 6th position. He's got some help, but is it strong enough? In my opinion, I don't think so, because look at the gap between the outside row of the 92 of Evan Black and Krobach. They're not hooked up nose to bumper. They're not close enough to each other, and they're going to fall back.
Yeah, they're definitely, that inside line got a great run through turns number 1 and 2, and if they're lucky, they might be able to jump down here around Danny Rogers. I think Krobach thought about going down, but Danny Rogers is going to fill that spot, and now Michael Krobach is going to start dropping back. We're going to have to see if anyone else decides to jump out with him, as Jared Mogard has had to duck back in. He had gotten up to about the 20th position running the high line before it petered out, and he is now back into the 22nd position. Look,
I don't think that was a good move on Jim Foose's part. I understand he wants to try to get that outside line going and make something happen, but that outside line is just not strong enough right now. Yeah, you got 3 cars, but these cars are not sucking up to the back bumper to keep that momentum going. As they are, looks like they are starting to slip back a little bit. Oh yeah, they definitely are. I can tell.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Andy Veltman. He started in the 4th position. We saw him get stuck on the high side, and he dropped all the way back to the 23rd position. So that inside line definitely holding strong. It is the shortest way around the track, and I know that definitely helps, especially when you have all those cars down there to get a super large draft. As Krobach does have a good run here off into the corner. And oh man,
Pete Baskins.
And Danny Rogers just went up to block Michael Krobach.
All right,
and
here we
so
go.
We've jumped another man up there to that high side, and that high line's got a great run down the backstretch, 201 miles an hour off into turn number 3. Danny Rogers in that number 02 leading the charge up there. Is starting to gain some momentum. There's definitely people that have jumped up there, and Jim Foose is getting the benefit of this because he's just charging straight to the front now. As Danny Rogers, what a lap for that outside line.
Remember when I said just 3 drivers were up there and it wasn't working? Look how many guys they got up there now, and now they're able to keep up and challenge for the lead.
Yeah, side by side, Clarence Bonner on the inside in that number 99. Danny Rogers in that 02 now. Looks like he is going to get the push to the front in that number 02. Oh no, he's stuck in the sucker hole. Though Michael Krobach decided to back out of it. I thought Danny Rogers was going to be stuck in the sucker hole there, or if he wasn't going to get stuck in the sucker hole, Krobach was going to get stuck on the high side. But Danny Rogers in that number 02 machine, he's going to have to reset and mount a charge again.
Boy, he would have had clowns to the left of him and jokers to his right if he was in the middle, for sure. This Krobach still gives Danny Rogers a good push. You got to keep an eye on Danny Rogers. He's been on the move since the drive of the green. He started 14th and already in the top 3.
Yeah, he's definitely showing his drafting prowess as we've got through 13 laps here, 13 and a half laps as they race down the backstretch. Great start to this one, all clean and green. If you're just now joining us on YouTube or iRacing Live, definitely putting on a good show, all 36 drivers here tonight. And one thing I do want to note is we do have a trailing pack. That pack is quite a bit now off the lead pack. They're just now coming out of turn number 4. There they are, definitely trying to play their strategy as that's the 30th place on back as Danny Rogers once again has a run on Clarence Bonner.
Man, keep an eye on this front group up here, and keep an eye on that 72 car as I explain this. That 72 cars, they go down back straight, and watch when they get into the corner of the racetrack. The 72 is not doing anything side drafting related. The 02 was. He got to the right rear quarter panel, slowed down a little bit momentum of Clarence Bonner as Danny Rogers goes to the top spot, and he jumps down. That was a great move. But that 72 is not doing any kind of side drafting. He's not moving around, which is keeping up the momentum up towards the front. And he's still got some heavy momentum as they go through the trial.
So Danny Rogers is only the 2nd driver to lead a lap here at Daytona, with his first lap led here on lap number 15, as we move over to lap number 16 now. And my oh my, it seems like some of these drivers are maybe getting a little bit impatient. We have about 25 laps or so still on the fuel run, so we don't have to worry about fuel just yet. But tire wear at Daytona is a thing, and it can actually start to change how these cars handle. From my past experience, it tends to make it a little bit loose on the middle of the corner and really tight up on
to the line there. 6 1,000ths of a second Krobach led that lap by. Sorry to cut you off. That was close to the line.
Yeah, Krobach getting that first lap led. And, of course, that's an important thing here at Daytona, just getting out front. Joe Burchett in the number 67 machine is on pit road. Not quite sure you saw a glimpse of him just a second ago. Alex Geese has also taken his number 77 machine to the garage. I'll have to make sure that nothing happened to him. But there is that number 67 on the track yet again, once again. Oh, this is a replay.
He may have gone to the outside wall there.
Don't see anything.
Well, he did have some damage. I did see that.
Alex Geese actually also got some fact, I wonder if those two might have got together, because Geese got some pretty serious damage, and he caught the wall pretty good in that 77 machine, and that's why he's off track. So I don't see that those two were involved. So separate one-car incidents between the 67 of Joe Burchett, he's just now coming off pit road, and the 77 of Alex Geese. He clipped the wall he clipped the wall coming out of turn number 4 and did everything he could to save it and went spinning through the infield grass, but definitely that 67's got some pretty serious damage. As does the 21. Scott Smith has a lot of right side damage. We're seeing a lot of one-car accidents here. Not quite sure what happened to the 21 as the battle for the race lead is raging on. Ooh, looks like he might have got some net code, went into the outside wall through the tri-oval. But Tanner, we're seeing this these drivers hit the wall here at Daytona, but doing a great job of not bringing out a yellow.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's just one of those deals where that was just heavy net code. It's like somebody just hit him, but wow. That's very weird.
Yeah, it's a shame for that number 21. I'm sure, that's really frustrating as a driver when you get that code. Yeah, aerodynamics. Yeah, it is key here. You're going so fast, flat out, lap after lap, and not only is it key for speed, but it's also key for fuel efficiency as well. I know I've run into some races where I've had just a little bit of damage, and it's got some fuel efficiency issues. As you see that inside line starting to prevail maybe just a little bit again, as Danny Rogers got a great run through turns number 3 and 4. So he's going to go back to the point after Crowblock. Oh, Clarence Bonner got loose.
That's that transition from a flat apron down there to 18 degrees of banker, and this is going to change.
Oh,
this ain't good.
No, and cars are now spinning all over the place. Yellow flag out. Looks like Pete Baskins in the number 3 is around. Cars going everywhere to avoid him. Everyone did a pretty good job of getting around that, but definitely a tough break for Pete Baskins in that number 3. And just Clarence Bonner was down there on the flat, and he got up, got sideways, and clipped that number 3, the number 26, and Brad Cross involved. Brian Yazik got a piece of it. Clarence Bonner also getting a chunk of it.
Is this the Brian Yazik view? Oh, 94. I was gonna say, you got an onboard as Yazik. Yazik, he got hit, but it was scary.
Oh, man. Corey Silva doing an absolute expert job of getting through that accident. Brian Yazik in the 55 also did a great job. Let's see if we can get a view of Yazik in the 55.
He got hit, though, at the end, but he's kind of going through. There's a hole right there. He takes it, but he did get hit right there.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be too much damage for that number 55, but man, he didn't have many options there in that number 55, so I think he's probably happy with the outcome regardless of whether or not he got hit.
Bonner was in trouble.
It looked like the track was blocked.
Bonner was in trouble from the tri-oval, and they're on point. He got left sides. He wasn't necessarily lined up with Rogers, and he just got loose, that transition there. And on top of that, Bonner, he was going 182. He wasn't slowing down. He had that thing full throttle. He started slowing down a little bit, but not as much as I thought he would, and tried making that transition from banking to flat, and it didn't work.
Yeah, Lee Staples in the number 26 was one of those drivers who got the brunt of it. He got the wall really hard, as you see everyone starting to come down pit road. And Tanner, if you're one of these drivers, you just got through that accident, you have no damage. 4 tires or 2 tires here?
2 tires. I mean, if you really want to take the advantage under caution here, take 4 tires. But I'd say I want to keep that track position and go for the 2 tires. Right now, I'm seeing right side's going up. Danny Rogers is going 4, and there's smoke on pit road. The 30 just blew an engine on pit road. I just seen somebody blow up.
Yeah, Brad Cross blew up right before his pit stall in that number 30 machine. As we have the race off pit road, I think Kelsey Rogers is going to get that one. So number 35,
from 6th to
first off pit road. Danny Rogers second, and we'll have to keep an eye on their pit road times because you see that trying to see what they're... Yeah, so looks like Kelsey Rogers took 2 tires, so that 10.26 second stop.
Kelsey took an audible. Kelsey overshot the pit box and took an audible to take 2 tires.
Oh. So yeah, he's the only one to take 2 tires on this pit stop. Looks like Jamie Vaughn is actually going to be the race leader. I think he missed his pit stall in that number 12 machine. Oh, no, he's not the race leader, but he missed his pit stall in that number 12. Excuse me. Watch this as he was coming down pit road here in that number 12 machine. Just seemed to go right on through pit road in that number 12 Pizza Hut Chevy Camaro. But it'll be good to see Kelsey Rogers up at the front of the field in that number 35 machine.
Yeah. That 55 back there, Brian Yazik, has more damage than I thought.
Yeah, it looks like he's coming back down on pit road to get some more damage repaired as we speak, as we watch this replay. Now it looks like Jamie Vaughn just went right on through. He is now on pit road as we speak to get 4 tires and fuel in that machine. And like we were talking about earlier, about 40 laps on fuel, maybe just a few laps extra. So I don't think these drivers are thinking about going to the end from here unless they get quite a bit of caution laps. So we'll definitely get to see once we re-rack and go back to green flag racing. And it looks like Jared Mogard, we were talking about him. He's your points leader. He's currently running in the 13th position on track. So great pit stop for that number 00 machine. And someone I want to keep an eye on tonight is Alan Young. He's had some very consistent finishes this year in that number 24. He's 2 spots behind Mogard currently on the racetrack. And that Federated Auto Parts number 24 has worked his way up into 4th place in points. He's only behind Evan Black on tiebreaker. But Alan Young has put in some great performances as of late. And just, knocking out those 7th, 8th, 11th, 12th place finishers or so. And he's worked his way up in points just based on that level of consistency. So it'll be good to see maybe if Alan Young can get a good finish here tonight in that number 24.
Yeah, definitely. He's best start of the season so far has been 11th place, and best finish has been 7th, which happened a week ago at Poconos. So Alan's been pretty consistent for them so far. Hopefully, he can keep that consistency going here tonight in Daytona.
Will Worstler is another driver who has had some up-down races so far this season. Of course, winning at Bristol, but having some troubles early on in the season with pit stalls and black flags and such in that number 29, but he's currently running in the 14th. Alex Geese, unfortunately, with some damage that he accrued early on by hitting the wall, he's taken the number 77 to the garage, and he is done. There's the number 30 of Brad Cross sitting on pit road, and also Scott Smith there in the 21 sitting on pit road as well. Not sure if they're have any intentions to get back onto the racing circuit once that damage is fixed. But definitely want to keep an eye on Lee Staples. You see him, excuse me, that's not Lee Staples. So we have the 26 of Lee Staples, who's a modified, a little bit further back. And I think maybe the 97 of Andy Veltman might be one of those. Yes, Andy Veltman started 4th in this one. But unfortunately, that number 97 machine's looking a little bit worse for wear as pace car lights are off. We have 31 cars on the lead lap. Joe Burchett in the 67 is the first car 1 lap down at this point. Andy Veltman is 33rd. He's also 1 lap down. And Brad Cross, who has a blown motor, his pace car dives on down pit road. Put it into the hands of the number 35, Kelsey Rogers. Rogers gets a great start. Jumps out way ahead of everyone else. Sometimes that's not always the best thing at Daytona because you're out there like a sitting duck.
Yeah, the way he got that jump, but right now he's got some help. Some guys are taking to the inside, so this is going to be in Kelsey Rogers' favor. Danny Rogers on the high line has got no drafting help whatsoever. That 15 car of Jeremy Banning might go up there and help him. He's probably still debating. Now he's going to hop on up there. No, now he's going to hop back inside, so he's still debating whether he wants to help Danny. Danny wants to try to get to the inside as best he can. Krobach's going to take over to second position as they head down into turn number 3. Rogers really tried squeezing in there, but the number 92, Evan Black, is having none of it.
Yeah, I'm watching from high above, and really Danny Rogers and Tyler Sobel, the only drivers on the high side at this point. Sobel is probably around the 15th position. Here comes Michael Krobach. There's a great run out of the corner, and he had the number 92 go with him, and those two bump draft their way into the lead here at Daytona. Now, Danny Rogers is saying, hey guys, where was that one lap ago? But he's starting to now pull up to the back of Evan Black in that number 92 machine.
Watch Krobach. He's going to operate the high line down the back straightaway, and as they head down in turn 3, he might dip down to the inside to stop that momentum, and looks like he's for sure going to do that. He might bring the 92 with him, but that high line's still coming. Now the inside's got the heavy-duty momentum. That's Kelsey Rogers in the 35, Eric Banning on the inside, all trying to get the race lead.
Yeah, Eric Banning has been, Jeremy Banning has been very... Yeah, he's been very consistent here in the early going, just slowly making his way forward with a good showing in that number 15. But I think what happened there is Michael Krobach didn't want to leave Evan Black up there on the high side, so Krobach was kind of doing the gentlemanly thing by staying up there on the high side with Evan Black. But as you can see, Jeremy Banning giving Kelsey Rogers a great push down the back stretch. They're going to be neck and neck going off into turn number 3 side by side, as now Alexander Pelican is going to try and suck up to the back of that number 15 machine. And Richard Stallings in the 17 on the inside. So about 5 drivers now on the inside draft, all lockstep with one another. And we got 3 cars on the outside. It'll be interesting to see how that number 72-92 pairing can work out here as we go for a few more laps, I should say, with a lot of these drivers on 4 fresh tires. Kelsey Rogers only on 2 tires. Don't think that's going to matter too much, but we might only have 1 more pit stop. So, you keep that in mind. What's Kelsey Rogers going to do on his next pit stop? He might have to take 2 tires, which could set him up for having a lot of laps on one side of those on one side of the car, I should say.
I know what I do.
What's that?
2 tires and fuel. That's going to be enough time to get the fuel tank full.
Yeah, definitely at a track like this. So this is the repaved Daytona. Of course, in the iRacing service, there's also the older Daytona, the 2007 version of Daytona, which is really, 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 really bumpy. At that track, you might think a little bit different about only taking 2 tires. But here at the repaved Daytona, 2 tires is not too bad. As you can see, that number 35 is actually broken clear of the number 72 of Michael Krobach, because Jim Foose is to the inside of Krobach. Jim Foose in that number 42, he's made his way almost up into the top 5 here as we are now on lap number 31.
Krobach is not really doing too much side draft. I'm not even seeing that, and that sometimes is a good thing. The more you handle your car still, because look how long those 3 cars on the outside line has really been sticking with this lead pack. That's probably due to the less movement of the 3 cars as a 16. Now they're all hopping to the outside row, and they got to be careful doing this because we will have 3 wide for the race lead.
3 wide for the race lead. Look at that number 15 of Jeremy Banning. Jumps right through the middle. Man. Michael Krobach in that number 72 right behind him. But Alexander Pelican in that number 16 JVL Toyota dropping way back as that outside line now all accordion together. They're going to get a great push through that tri-oval. And now the 15.
Look at the jostling to the lead.
Yeah, the 15 Jeremy Banning jumps down to the inside. But man, Michael Krobach still got a run, and he's able to pull neck and neck with him through turns number 1 and 2.
Pelican had clowns to the left of me and a wall to my right, and he fell back.
Yeah, I think that it's probably in his best intention maybe to just roll out of it and reset. You don't really want to be 3 wide at this point, although you know, 3 Wide TV, it's our moniker. We like 3 Wide Racing, but sometimes 3 Wide Racing is not always the best position to be in, as looks like Jim Foose and Danny Rogers got a little bit close coming off of turn number 4.
Well, I tell you what, when Danny Rogers was slicing and dicing through the middle like that, when Pelican was on that outside row, that car was just dancing left and right. Like, that car didn't know what to do. And Rogers was practically hanging on for the ride as I head down, come off turn number 2 here, side by side. And that outside line still hanging tough.
Yeah, outside line definitely hanging tough here at Daytona. We have about 18 cars in the lead pack. Richard Fletcher is the first man outside of the lead draft. He's about 0.7 of a second behind Tim Knott. And there looks to be a group of cars all lined up. Some of those cars damaged a little bit further back. Unfortunately, Clarence Bonner in that number 99 as you watch this race up in front.
Line. Ooh, Crowbot got him.
For all you Clarence Bonner fans, he is really struggling with all the damage accrued on that number 99 machine. He is falling well off the pace. He's 20 seconds off the lead. So trouble for your pole sitter, Clarence Bonner, which is a shame. But up at the front, Jeremy Banning, Krobach still just side by side for the race lead.
You smell that, Peter? Do you really smell that? There's a driver in the top 11 who is inching his way up towards the front, and he's won 3 of the 4 races this season, and that's Jared Mogard.
Yep, that number 00 maxed out Motor Short Chevrolet, just slowly working his way forward, trying to keep out of trouble and end up with a good finish. I'm sure once we get to the final 20 laps or so, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see that number 00 starting to pounce.
Yeah, he's starting to pounce, and he's got a couple good cats with him, too. He's got Maxwell ahead of him. He's got Josh Walker behind him. Behind that, you got Will Worsler. Circle him down, too. Will Worsler, Alan Young. Got a bunch of good cats there.
Yeah, and that back pack not really making any inroads on the front pack. We've got the side-by-side 2x2 group up here at the front, led by the number 15 currently, and to his outside, Michael Krobach, although that outside line has kind of lost some ground here over the last lap or so. But definitely behind that 2x2 pack, they're starting to get a little bit single file here as that group is led by Sam Maxwell. I'm sure that little group can draft back up to the lead group whenever they want to. It's, Krobach and Kelsey Rogers got a little bit close coming out of turn number 2.
Well, that was a little bit of a side draft to try to get the momentum on corner exit, and boy, he did carry it as they head down into turn 3. They're side by side, but that inside row is going to have a little bit of momentum on entrance. Let's see if Krobach can stick it with on corner exit. So far, he's looking high and mighty right now on that high line. He's got the number 92 of Evan Black right behind him, as well as Danny Rogers is there, who's already led today.
Yeah, and I want to keep an eye on just outside your screen right now is the 94 of Corey Silva, and Corey Silva is teammate to Evan Black. That number 94, he's been predominantly running that high side, so I think he's trying to maybe help Alexander Pelican maybe get to the back bumper of Danny Rogers to see if he can help his teammate in that number 92 help Krobach, as we have a slow car in front of your leaders. Will be interesting to see as everyone decides to go up around Andy Veltman. Veltman's going to stay to the inside here in the 97.
Rogers.
Whoa! That gets really tight there. Jim Foose! Jim Foose gets loose! Oh, Alexander Pelican involved, Andy Veltman involved, the 94, Corey Silva, they're spinning through the grass.
No
and
caution.
The 94's up on the track. Cars going everywhere. Foose is now spinning. And
that was
there's no caution yet. There's the caution. Jim Foose in the 42. He's got some rear end damage. And Corey Silva, you see everyone spinning through the grass.
Man, I hate to say it, but I think that was the product of the lap car, because 9 out of 10 times at Daytona Talladega, you're expecting somebody who's really slow on the track to go really high above the track, or even stay on the apron of the track. And this time, everybody was just trying to form a line right here, and there was contact between the 97 and the 42. And if there wasn't any contact, then there was certainly netcode, because the 42 got all out of shape for sure.
Yeah, and that is the tightest spot
Who's got ping
around.
pong?
as the tightest point around Daytona International Speedway is coming off turn number 4. It's really the one spot that you don't want to be 3 wide if you can avoid it, because the safer barrier kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's just the worst place to catch someone in that situation.
Watch this. It's going to bump the 97, ping pong off Danny Rogers, and that's got Jim Foose out of whack.
Yeah, Alexander Pelican unfortunately getting... Ooh! Sam Maxwell might have got a chunk off the back end of Alexander Pelican there. So we'll have to keep an eye on that number 98. Indeed, that number 98's got quite a bit of damage, unfortunately, in that Sam Maxwell Customs Ford Fusion. You're watching off the front of the number 24, Alan Young, as all the cars went spinning in front of him. Ooh, he definitely checked up there. You can see that damage on that number 98. Foose did a good job of preventing it from coming back up on the racetrack, because that could have been worse than it already was.
Boy, he hit the heck out of that cone that flew up onto the track. I'm surprised nobody got damage out of that cone. But pit road is open, and this is going to be a mixture. Kelsey Rogers is going to stay out. Everybody pits.
Yeah, and this is the point at which I think these drivers can pretty much make it from here on fuel. So it's a little bit confusing if I was Kelsey Rogers to stay out. You better hope you get another caution, because everyone else who's pitting here should be able to make it from this point. And if you don't get another caution from here on out, you could be in some pretty serious trouble.
Hate to break it to Kelsey Rogers, man, but this is not a good call, because we've seen long green flag runs. We are the halfway, but he's going to need to pit again. Everybody else may have to pit again, depending on how much fuel they save under this caution. This is going to be a good time to save as much as you can, because the longer you are in the throttle here in Daytona, the more gas you're using. But also, if you're in the draft, you're saving just a little bit. So most of these drivers should be able to make it to the end, but I wouldn't count those chickens before they hatch just yet. But on Kelsey Rogers' part, you're going to need to pit. And if I were you, man, you kind of just threw it away. I'd say pit right now. That way maybe you can fight your way back up towards the front and get that track position. But this is definitely a gamble call on Kelsey Rogers' part.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing he does have going for him is track position, but I don't think he would have lost much track position by pitting there, because the whole field went down pit road, let's be honest. So you do have track position, but definitely the question about fuel. We'll see if we might be able to get him up here in the booth and figure out what's going through his head.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ring up Kelsey Rogers here. Kelsey Rogers, you got a copy?
Yeah, go ahead, cuz.
All right, Kelsey, here's the deal. What's going through your mindset? You stay under this caution flag. Is this a strategy plan, or just trying to keep that track position?
I mean, I haven't really noticed a whole lot of tire wear today, so we're just going to keep it out here. Stay ahead of the melee. I think it's going to be real tight up for people to try to make it the rest of the way right now. And I think if another caution comes out, they'll be down pit road too for a little insurance. So we'll catch it on that time. Just trying to stay ahead of the melee here.
Yeah, that seems like it's working out in your favor. You did take 2 tires last time you were on pit road. And speaking of all this, how's been the racing out there? It seems like at times it's been kind of intense, as we just seen coming off of turn 4. You made a heck of a move for that top spot on Jeremy Banning there with a use of a lap car as a pick. Tell me about the racing out there and how the drafting is.
It's been pretty smooth so far. I mean, you definitely need the draft to make a pass, and I think if a line could get running right in time when they trail brake and really get it to going, they could pull ahead of the other line, but it just seems that it hasn't panned out yet.
All right. Well, Kelsey, the best of luck here. We're going to let you go and keep you to your thoughts here, and hopefully you can keep that 35 machine up towards the front like you have been.
Hey, thank you.
That was Kelsey Rogers, who currently the race leader, and he's thinking fuel. He doesn't think these guys can. He thinks these guys are going to need another pit stop, and I almost agree with him. Almost.
Yeah, if you're up at the front and you're leading the way, you're going to be using a lot of fuel. But if you're the 10th car in line, it wouldn't be at all too surprising to save about a lap or two. Maybe even 2.5 laps worth of fuel over a 40-lap fuel run. So, I know that Kelsey's gambling on another yellow flag, but he's currently got 18 or so laps out there since he last pitted. So, you figure he's got 18 laps. He's about halfway on a fuel run here already. He better hope that he doesn't see a green flag run that's just a few laps longer than the last one we saw.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of green flag runs here in Daytona today, which is good. But in Kelsey's favor, man, he's been using up a lot of fuel. And if you're drafting with another car, you can run 3/4 throttle and save fuel.
Yeah, well, pace car lights are off here for the second caution of the day at Daytona International Speedway. And it'll be good to get back to green flag running here in the Sackett and Brake Survey 200 for the ASRS Sim Marketing Solutions Cup Series. Next week, we will be transitioning over to the Truck Series for the first Truck Series race of the season with these ASRS drivers. Should be fun to see that because they're right back here at Daytona International Speedway.
Seen a lot of limping drivers in the field. Jared Mogard's one of them. Jim Foose, drivers who are a little bit towards the front. These guys are going to have a long rest of the halfway race here. 38 laps.
Yeah, and I'm also noticing some drivers leaving some pretty big spaces out there. This league, they don't want you to have big spaces, especially when the green flag flies, but I think that's drivers trying to save those last few precious drops of Sunoco race fuel, as we'll see this pace car dive hard left, put the race back in the hands of the number 35 of Kelsey Rogers. He's hard on the gas, and we're back to green flag racing here at Daytona International Speedway.
Yeah, Rogers might want to go up there and try to, he's going to go, I'd stick to the inside. That's where it seems like where their most help is for sure. Right now he's kind of guarding both lines and go to the inside on the start here. Almost contact between Banning and Krobach. Banning's doing everything he can to slow down momentum, but it's just not going to work no matter how much side drafting you do.
Yeah, he has to wait for Danny Rogers in the 02 to catch up to his back bumper before those two can hopefully try and make their way forward. But a little bit hopeful as there's only two cars on that outside line. They're trying to get Richard Stallings in that number 17 as Will Worsler looks like he thought better of going to the high side as that number 29 machine there is in about the 7th position or so.
Yeah, Rogers just practically rear mirror drive, and let's see what Krobach. I'm curious what that Krobach's going to do. Once he gets clear, he might hop to the outside row. Right now, Banning doing everything he can with Danny Rogers. That's a couple good pairs of drivers on the top side. A lot of jostling in the top 10 area. 58th machine, Josh Walker hops to the outside.
Yeah, the 15 and the 02 got a great side draft coming out of turn number 4 that last time, and they were able to get a great push up to the side of that number 72 machine, and now they're getting the help from Josh Walker and Richard Stallings in that number 17. So, we're over halfway. Action will be starting to pick up. These drivers will start to think about side drafting a little bit more early in the race. You might want to give a little bit more room, but at this point, go time is coming here at Daytona, and as the laps tick down, we'll definitely see more and more side drafting.
Man, if I was Krobach, man, try to hop to the outside row as best as you can. You're clear right now. If you want to try to keep that track position up towards the front, Rogers ahead of you has yet to pit, and you want to try to keep this green. You already pit, and you're on fresher stickers. You can maneuver just a little bit more.
Yeah, and Krobach, he's just pushing Kelsey Rogers to the front as looks like Danny Rogers and that number 15 of Banning got maybe a little bit detached there, and it looks like they've lost their help up at the front now.
Oh, yes.
Josh Walker's jumped down to the inside. Now Danny Rogers has been hung out to dry on that high side, so we'll have to see if that 02 can jump in behind Richard Stallings, or maybe he can grab some help up there, but the next open spot on the inside is just behind that number 17, unless Alan Young can get to the back of that 17 and close that door.
Well, Krobach, now, he's still decided to stick in the line right there, which is now, with everything that just happened and transpired, it was the best move. I was completely wrong if I was Krobach, but, it's regardless. You're just trying to keep that track position up there, and Krobach knows we're past the halfway point. He's in position, really. He's in second place. He's got the number 92 behind him, black, brown, Banning's there. Everybody's kind of hopping towards the inside right now. Only one car, and that's Danny Rogers, who's really dropping like a pigeon at the moment.
Yeah, he's dropped all the way back to the 9th position, and his one opportunity to get down to the inside was Alan Young, but Alan Young was able to shut the door as he was able to close up on that number 17 machine. So Danny Rogers, he's doing all he can up there by himself using side draft, and
it ain't working.
It's not working.
Nope.
I mean, he's doing a good job of it. He's keeping as close as he can to the front, but you know, it won't last forever, although he's got a really good run this lap.
There was some checkup on the inside, though, too, that allowed him to have that run. Now he's got some help. Oh, there comes Banning. Oh, now we're getting players. Oh.
Yeah, Banning said, okay, I've played the inside line for a few laps. I'm ready to move back forward again, and he's going to jump to the high side. And really, Banning's done a great job of using that side draft. I've been really impressed with both the 15 and the 02 at this point of how they've been able to side draft to get these runs just like you're seeing here. And this is a mega run. Look at this. He's 2 miles an hour faster than Kelsey Rogers, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that is what 2 miles an hour difference does on a super speedway. It looks like you're got some turbo boost.
Yeah, then it dies out on the entrance of the corner, like we just seen on turn 3 there, as they're kind of slipping back just a little bit. Michael Krobach has that opportunity to try to go for that higher line, but he's still electing to keep that inside row and playing it in the safe right now.
Yeah, and they're going to be 2x2 for about the 3rd position. Evan Black trying to come back on the number 15 of Jeremy Banning. Is
Danny Rogers don't want to be blinking in the middle of the pack like that.
Yeah, I've seen some big wrecks caused by connection issues, so hopefully that's the first time I've seen him blink, so hopefully that's just kind of a one-off situation there up in that number 35, as we have a decent gap from the 9th position, Richard Stallings, back to Alan Young. Maybe Young has just decided to try and pace this field as you're riding on board with Josh Walker, getting really close up to the back of the number 02 as they go through the tri-oval here, as we only have 31 laps to go here at Daytona. The laps do wind down really fast here because they are turning 45-second laps, going 200 miles an hour through the corner. I mean, they're 200 miles an hour pretty much all the way around this joint. So, 200-mile race, if it stays green, you're going to be done in about an hour. So we're well over halfway as these laps do tick down.
Coming to 30 laps to go this time by as they come off turn number 4. As the laps are winding down, Kelsey Rogers has yet to pit compared to other drivers in the field, and they all have a draft. I think the 15 and 35, Rogers and Banning, are using the most fuel out of everybody else.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about it. Kelsey Rogers has now run about 27 laps or so since his. Yeah, it's got probably. We did have a lap under yellow, so he might have about 13, 14 laps left. But if he doesn't catch a yellow here pretty soon, it could spell disaster for that number 35.
Man. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to my right. Here I am, stuck in the middle.
Man, Jeremy Banning decided
to
get down to the inside. Ooh.
Nope. Locked. Door got slammed there.
Yeah, everyone's checking up on the high side, and I think everyone's got to see that Alexander Pelican was coming up as we go now 3 wide around the number 16. Oh, contact! Danny Rogers and Jeremy Banning. Those have been the two strongest cars on the outside line, and Danny Rogers, clobbered by, I can't remember who that is. That's Robbie Baskins in the 46, and another lapped car running that inside line, and causing chaos there. And the 02,
the 15 had no choice but to go through the middle, and the 02, and there was some netcode contact, but there wasn't. I'm seeing netcode. Maybe it's just a thing on my end, but regardless, the 15 had no choice but to go through the middle, and he met the 02 right in the middle of the track. And the 02 was just trying to follow the car ahead of him in line. That's all he was trying to do.
Yeah, that's one of those accidents. Once again, it just, you have a lap car.
I haven't seen any radio communication here from these drivers. And I'm really surprised that there isn't any kind of radio communication. Usually everybody has like a black box or a relative screen to understand where the leaders are at. I'm surprised there's a little bit of lack of communication there.
Yeah, and oh man, it's heartbreak for Danny Rogers. He ran so well throughout this race, and Jeremy Banning in the number 15 got a little piece of that too, but he had such a good run going.
There's Kelsey Rogers' caution that he wanted.
Yeah, that's what he needed. He needed that caution because he was probably only about 10 or 11 laps away from needing to come down to pit. It's going to be interesting, though, to see who decides to come down pit road because, some of these drivers, they might not need to come back down pit road, although it looks like Michael Krobach in the number 72, he's kind of showing his hand as he dives down pit road. Looks like mostly everyone is coming to pit road. Looks like Will Worsler is going to stay out in the number 29 machine, so we'll have to see how that plays out, but Kelsey Rogers will lead them down as he will hit his pit stall here pretty far down way towards the end. He overshot his pit stall in that number 35 machine. He's taking left side tires only. Left side of that car is up.
Better go.
He missed his pit stall first time. He missed it again. And looks like a lot of people elected to take 4 again as Kelsey Rogers is going to be one of the first off pit road. Mitch Brown in the number 51, though, did beat him off as, ooh, man, who was that got really sideways? I think it was Josh Walker got really sideways as he hit the gas to get out of his pit box.
I've seen a few cats stay out here. Will Worsley, as you mentioned, Peter, is one of them. And secondly, Sam Maxwell, the 47, and Richard Fletcher all have stayed out under this caution flag.
We did see a few of those cars that were a little bit further back from that first pack under that last run. I wonder if they were thinking about saving fuel and they believe that they've saved enough that they won't have an issue from here.
Yeah, I mean, you can make it. I mean, if you've pitted for fuel with this caution, you can make it to the end, no doubt, in my opinion. If you're staying out, you're kind of. These caution laps here at Daytona will really help you, especially if you get on the flat part of the apron instead of using the banking. You'll save a lot more. But this is just a strategy call for that track position.
One other thing about this caution was Brian Yazik got into the back of, I believe, the number 80 machine of Jack Wells, and Yazik has a ton of front end damage in that number 55 Ford. There he is on the track, and so that's definitely going to put a hindrance on Brian Yazik's race. He's got a lot of front end damage. I think the 80 just checked up, and I don't think Yazik could quite see what was happening in front of him when that happened, and he just got into the back of Jack Wells and sent him around. So tough break for both Yazik and Jack Wells. I'm sure they were looking for good finishes here tonight. But we'll definitely have to see what Will Worsler has up his sleeve in that number 29 Chevrolet, because we haven't seen him up front yet. He's kind of been mid-pack. He's shown that he's got some speed. He did make it to the lead pack for a little bit, but that number 29's been pretty quiet tonight.
Yeah, very quiet, but hey, he's there when it counts, right? I mean, we're coming down to it here. We're going to be coming. We got 25 laps to go. So, I mean, he's right in position where he wants to be. It's just a matter of staying there.
Absolutely. Pace car lights are still on. There is the number 98, Sam Maxwell, in that Sam Maxwell Customs Ford Fusion, just to his outside. That number 98's got a decent chunk of damage accrued here tonight, and we'll have to see if that number 98 can stick up at the front. One thing that has been interesting so far this season, it seems like Sam Maxwell has not had a clean car yet at the end of these races, but it never seems to faze him that much. We saw at Atlanta he had a modified. He had no front end on that thing, and he was running inside the top 5 towards the end of the race. So for whatever reason, Sam Maxwell has some crazy aerodynamics machine or something that allows him to keep pace with people, even when he has a decent chunk of damage. So
I've seen drivers that look like an SK modified and still run full speed.
Yeah, it just sometimes is luck of the draw of where you get hit, when you get hit, and how you get hit. So
Just got to be able to put the beginning, middle, and end of the race together. Sun's going down though here in Daytona. Seen a lot more shadows in turns 1 and 2, and also the front stretch. So the day to night transitions truly really work, and I love the vision, the what you can see here in Daytona as the sun goes down. But we're not going to be going until once the lights turn on though, because we're going to have 25 laps to go, and if we stay green, like you said, Peter, it's just going to zoom by fast.
yeah, absolutely. And another person to keep your eye on is Richard Stallings in that number 17. He's that bright yellow car right in the center of your screen. He's on the high side. He's got no damage. He actually ghosted through one of the cars under that accident. So I don't think he got any damage from that accident. And sometimes netcode is your worst friend ever, but sometimes it can be your best friend. So I'm sure Richard Stallings is counting his blessings that he didn't get any damage from this caution, as the pace car still leads the field as they go through turn number 4. Got to keep an eye on number 47, Richard Fletcher. He's right behind Will Worsler. We'll see how good of a restart he gets. Fletcher in his first start of the season here for the ASRS Sim Marketing Solutions Cup Series. His pace car does dive down pit road. And the green flag back in the air here at Daytona International Speedway. Great start by everyone up in the front. Sam Maxwell got a good jump in that number 98 machine. He's going to be side by side with Will Worsler.
This was the restart of the time. I mean, if you want a good restart, it's got to happen right now, because this is for the marbles here. I mean, none of these drivers I don't think are going to pit ever again, and they're going to try to keep that track position. And we've already seen how hard it's been to try to keep the momentum up with the draft at times, and how much help you need, as Maxwell leading the high line and Worsler leading the inside row side by side as I head down to turn 3.
Yeah, big bump draft there. You saw it in the center of your screen. Will Worsler getting a big push from Richard Fletcher up at the front, and that actually really helped the number 29, because it looked like he was stalling out just a little bit, and when Fletcher gave him that bump, it really pushed that number 29 Hater Racing machine to the front. But here comes Sam Maxwell. We're just talking about how he's got all that damage, but give that lap led to that number 98 as Sam Maxwell. It's his first lap led of the night. Got Mitch Brown in that number 51. Pushing that number 98 up at the front.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they got that momentum going. Mitch Brown, he's been up there, up towards the front practically all race long, and he's still trying to use those side rats to slow down that inside row.
Yeah, I'm really wondering if that number 98, he's got that little bit of damage out front, and that might help Mitch Brown actually stay closer to his bumper a little bit.
This ain't good. That outside row, I called it as they enter turn 3. This ain't good.
Yeah, they broke apart.
Yep. Well, there was a big gap between, from the front and the nose of the 51 to Maxwell. I mean, once you create that big gap, man, it's hard to keep that outside row going. And man, Sam Maxwell, the Lone Ranger on that outside row.
Yeah, Sam Maxwell is the only one out there. Back to Edward Bray in the number 66 Harley-Davidson Chevrolet. That number 66 has some front-end damage. You can see him as he's now got Troy Haight to his back bumper. I'm sure Troy Haight's trying to get up front as quick as he can to see if he can try and help his teammate up there at the front, Will Worsler, in that number 29 Hater Racing machine. But seems like mostly single file. Sam Maxwell, he's gone from 4th place last lap. He's going to drop all the way down to the 8th position.
That's 51 machine, Mitch Brown. He's hopping to the outside row. He's getting help from the number 92 of Evan Black. But, oh, no, he just got dumped right there. And, man, he just got lucky to fill that in. He better fill that in. I know it's sometimes you're unsure, but...
Man, that was close.
Oh, man, Fletcher, he's getting antsy. Fletcher got antsy on that back straightaway. He wanted to jump to the outside row. He wasn't sure if Rogers was going to go with him, and it never happened.
Yeah, he definitely started to dance down that back stretch, and it didn't look too comfortable in that 47 Cessna Ford, because it looked like it got a little bit twitchy on him, maybe a little bit more than he was expecting. But he wasn't. He didn't get any help from Kelsey Rogers. Kelsey Rogers staying lockstep right behind him on the inside line.
And I'm telling you, Peter, these guys are getting heat from the back. that 51 machine wants to go, but every time he wants to go, man, that momentum doesn't go. And the 92 of Black is like, man, I want to go with you, but we don't got the momentum to go. So he tucks right back in line, and they are getting heat from the back. And man, I tell you what, Fletcher doesn't hog that line. He's gonna get clipped on the left rear quarter panel, in which he does go back in line. Fletcher, he's getting a little antsy there in second place. He wants to go for the race lead. It's just a matter of someone going with him. But the more he keeps speaking out like that, the more the 35 of Rogers is going to clip that left rear quarter panel. And now here comes a 51.
Yeah, Mitch Brown jumped to the high side. He's hoping he can get some friends. But the number 92 of Evan Black did not go with him. And the 51 of Mitch Brown is the only man in the top 9 who is using that high line. But you know what? I'm looking a little bit further back. He does have some help from those other Sim Marketing Solution Toyota Camrys. Not too far behind, there's Tim Knott in the 41, just behind Michael Krobach, and behind him is Jared Haggerty. So all those Toyotas might be able to get together here. And it looks like Krobach's going to let Mitch Brown back in. That's pretty nice of him. I think he actually checked up a little bit.
I see a Ford, a Chevrolet, and a Chevrolet hooked up on the outside row. That's Sam Maxwell leading that part. And they're trying to get some guys together to go.
Yeah, Edward Bray is just tucked up behind Sam Maxwell. So Edward Bray stayed true to that outside, and he's starting to make a way forward just a little bit. They had a good run that last lap, but weren't able to keep it going as they're number 98, Sam Maxwell, now side by side with the 41 of Tim Knott. So that's just a little bit further back. There's on the edge of the top 10, those cars back there. But all single file up at the front. Will Worsler still leading the way here at Daytona. He's led 8 laps. Michael Krobach has now jumped to the outside. The 51.
He better get there. Nope.
Mitch Brown. Yeah, there are 3 wide.
They will split them.
Yeah, they're going 3 wide here. Good thing for Krobach is he did have help ahead of him, and he was able to actually use that draft ahead of him to pull up to the back bumper of the 51, and the 98 was 3 wide for an instance, but they were able to get back 2 wide. Yeah, Kelsey Rogers with that power move with help from Mitch Brown in the 51. The 35 timed that absolutely perfectly to get that push to the front, and he leapfrogged over Will Worsler so easily, he made it seem.
Side by side, with the exception of the cat out front.
Oh, look at this! Like bump drafting through the tri-oval. Will Worsler sucked right up to the back bumper of the 35. I think Kelsey Rogers might have got just a little bit too far out front and gave Will Worsler a really good push.
Oh,
as Krobach, a little bit of blinking there in that 4th position. But now the inside line, Will Worsler behind Kelsey Rogers, those two trying to get together and see if they can assert their dominance here.
Man, I tell you what, I'm actually sniffing a 15-car recipe for a 15-car accident here, because these guys are just side drafting, trying to get in the correct line. That 51, Mitch Brown, man, he's just been up, down, you name it.
Well, it's go time at Daytona as we now have 15 laps to go. Mitch Brown in that number 51, getting that push from Michael Krobach. Great run through the tri-oval, and that 51 is going to sniff the lead here. Evan Black in the number 92, right behind Krobach. We've seen the 72 and 92 dance together here at Daytona all night long. Those two pretty much been draft buddies throughout this one. As Will Worsler dipping below that yellow line just a little bit. Sometimes you do have to be concerned with these cars getting a little bit hot, as Krobach has almost cleared Kelsey Rogers. I think that if Krobach clears Kelsey Rogers, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Mitch Brown jumps down to the inside to cover that inside line, but not able to do anything yet, as those 3 cars on that high line definitely working really well together, because the inside line is once again formed up and has numbers.
Yeah, they do. That outside line, with Krobach leading, and he's got a fast piece of machinery right there, just trying to keep that momentum up. Brown, he's just been playing defense there, mirror driving it.
And Tim Knott in the number 41 down there at the bottom of your screen.
He dropped to the back of the pack early in the race, remember?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, is he's played his strategy such that he only needs to be up front at the end of the race. And really, to be honest with you, that's the only time you need to be at the front in that number 41, is he's slowly but surely made his way up through the field. He's got no damage on that machine. He's got Jared Haggerty in the number 6 machine not too far behind him. So Tim Knott's starting to make some noise here as we only have 13 laps to go.
13 laps remaining, man. I tell you what, and these guys are just intensified the racing. Just trying to get up there. You know, if you can get the nose in there, maybe you can squeeze it in there for to try to gain that track position. Kelsey, he's driving the race of his life right now.
That outside line got a great push coming out of turn number 2. Mitch Brown gonna push all the way to the front with Krobach, but that run seems to stall out as they hit turn number 3. Kelsey Rogers yo-yoing back and forth, kind of just like the waves that hit Daytona Beach. They come in waves. The 51 and the 72 do on the 35.
Man, I tell you what, the way these guys are racing, you better get out the old photo finish camera.
Yeah, as long as we can stay green, I would completely agree with you, because, you know, these drivers are racing like crazy up here at the front, putting on a show here. We had 36 starters here tonight, and, you know, we have 26 of them on the lead lap. Brian Yazik, the last driver on the lead lap.
Tim Knott almost made contact with the 58 of Walker.
Yeah, they're really 2 by 2 for the front 3. Tim Knott's the first man who has a clearance on his outside. They're starting to catch up to lap traffic again. It's the number 97 of Andy Veltman. We've seen this be problematic so far in this race. Front few drivers have all cleared him. Looks like this one is going to go a little bit better than the last few have. Surprised that Veltman is staying on the track. If I would have expected him to go below the yellow line down the straightaway, as he's now getting chewed up by the entire field in that 97. That 97 has a ton of damage.
Oh, contact. There was 83 in the 11 back there, but we're still green.
Yeah, and it's quite a ways away till the next slow car. The next slow car is Brian Yazik. He's circulating through 1 and 2 as, yep, you said it, 10 laps to go here at Daytona International Speedway for the Sim Marketing Solutions Cup Series. Only 25 miles left in the Sackett and Brake Survey 200 here on 3 Wide TV. It's been a good race. There's definitely been some great side-by-side action, yo-yoing back and forth up at the front. Great push there by Michael Krobach in that number 72, laying his front bumper on the back bumper of the number 51 of Mitch Brown. They're still side-by-side as they race through turns number 3 and 4. Really hard to get that run and that push to clear the inside line. We saw Kelsey Rogers do it in that number 35, made it look easy, but no one else has been able to make it look easy so far.
Yeah, I mean, that outside, they've been side by side for like the longest time for the top spot all night long tonight. So it's very interesting how they're gonna dictate this, because we might be set up for a photo finish if we do not get a caution flag, because a lot of these drivers are doing all that they can do. There's not too much you can do if you're in a pack.
Another person who's starting to make some noise is the number 12 car of Jamie Vaughn, the Pizza Hut number 12. We saw him drive through the pit lane without hitting his pit stall earlier in the race. But that number 12 machine has broken the top 10. He's got no damage on that machine, and he's looking to move forward and see if he can grab a top 5 out of this one.
Man, Rogers is just... we got 8 laps to go, man, and Rogers has got to be like, man, I'm in position to win this thing. I'm on the inside row. I'm in the best lane. But realistically, that outside row is just losing the momentum on entrance. I mean, this race ain't over. The top 10 still have that chance.
Yeah, we've seen things get a little bit crazy before here at Daytona, especially when we've caught lap traffic or something of the sort, as I think Brian Yazik might have taken that number 55 machine to pit road. He's now actually on the back stretch. So I don't see any more lap traffic that might affect this outcome. As we hit the stripe, 7 laps to go. Kelsey Rogers has his entire car clear of Mitch Brown in the 51 here with only 7 laps to go.
Outside line starting to dissipate. It ain't good.
Yeah, and if I'm a little bit further, oh, look at this. Here comes the 29 of Will Worsler. He jumped to the outside, and I think Tanner Sharp says, all right, guys, I'm done. And the 29 Will Worsler is going to use the front bumper of the number 51 to push himself out front and jump back down to the low line. I think he said, thank you very much, Mitch, but I got to do what I got to do to win this event, as we only have 6 laps to go, this time at the line. And that was a great move by Will Worsler. He timed that to perfection.
Yeah, he timed it. I mean, now it's just a matter of staying out towards the front, because Rogers could utilize and just jump on out, and he could have Fletcher right behind him go with him. I mean, anything can happen with 6 to go right now.
And we're starting to see Tim Knott move ever so closer to the front in that number 41. Ooh, Kelsey Rudders, he's going to do the same thing we saw the 29 Will Worsler do it last lap, but now Kelsey Rudders has moved that number 35 out to the front, but he didn't quite get the push to clear Will Worsler on the inside. In fact, Kelsey Rudders got such a big bump that he's got a little bit of rear end damage on that number 35. He will lead this lap, though, as we have 5 laps to go at Daytona.
Oh, man, this is getting nuts right now.
Yeah, I'm sure if you're anywhere inside the top 20, your heart's beating like crazy, trying to figure out how to win this chess game, because the 35 Kelsey Rogers has gotten himself back out to the front, and he's trying to figure out what lane to block right now.
Man, he
he's trying clipped. He's trying to do that thing Dale Earnhardt Jr. used to do, just kind of seesaw back and forth between whichever lane's got to run.
Well, it's controlling the draft.
Yeah, it is. I mean, at this point in the race, you got to do what you got to do to win this thing, because this time we'll have only 10 miles left to go at Daytona. And,
trouble, trial.
Oh, the number 12 car.
Keep it high with a save. Jamie Vaughn.
Yeah, Jamie Vaughn there going through the trioval got into some trouble. It's like he might have gotten to the side of the 58, and what a great save. He did clip the wall in that number 12. No, he didn't. He stayed off the wall, but he's going to lose lots of track position. He's going to fall back to about the 16th position, and that outside line, Will Worsler, as I was mentioning that, Will Worsler made his way back to the front.
Oh, that outside line, Krobach's in trouble now. He needs some players on that higher line, and looks like Mitch Brown's going to be one of those cats to do it. This is it.
The 92, the caution flag is out. The 92, this car is still spinning. Maxwell, one of those back there, but Evan Black in the number 92 got sideways, and the race will be over. Will Worsler will get this W here. I can't.
That was a product of man, Tim Knott. What happened was Fletcher kind of moved just a little bit, and Tim Knott just moved ever so slightly too much, and just knocked the heck out of Evan Black.
Yeah, that's definitely what happens. You're riding on board with Evan Black, just gets clipped in the left rear, and that number 92 goes for a ride. And what a shame too. I mean, he's up there in points, and he was hoping for a good finish tonight. That number 92's engine is kaput. But Will Worsler made the move to get this win with a great push on that high line. And we've seen that high line work multiple times. You're riding on board with Sam Maxwell. He kind of just got collected and had no real place to go in that number 98 machine. Track kind of just got blocked there. Riding on board with the number 24 here. I don't think he could see anything of what was happening in front of him. When you're tucked up behind someone's rear spoiler, it's really difficult to see through the car.
Yeah, exactly. There's not too much you could do right there when that happens, because you practically have to follow the driver ahead of you, because you can't see what's all going on. You're really relying on the driver ahead of you, and so that's just a product of restrictor plate racing. But it produces good racing. We have seen today for that top spot. It was actually really entertaining as a race fan and a spectator of this race this evening to really watch these guys go at it. And they did for a long time, which is really impressive here on the iRacing simulator.
Yeah, they were side by side for so many laps. And it would just, all it took was the right place at the right time, and that's where Will Worsler placed himself when he got that push down the back stretch to get that lead. with just a few laps to go.
Well,
It's a shame it finishes under
yeah,
yellow, though.
It is, but you cannot deny the good racing we have seen here today at Daytona. Even though we had some single file racing, but I tell you what, the way they were operating the draft, the way they were drafting with each other out there, it really intensified the race. It really made the race dramatic a little bit. You know, what's going to happen? You know, that's why I was on the edge of my seat in these final laps here, just wondering what was going to happen. Is it going to be a big wreck? Are all these guys going to crash? I mean, we see in real life NASCAR where the top 13 drivers and then the 15th driver wins the race. So anything can happen whenever you come to Daytona or Talladega. And we're going to come down and take the white flag. Will Worsler will get his second win of the season. He won at Bristol. Remember when he came from that last lap, did a tire strategy, and now he did a strategy here at Daytona by staying out, try to keep that track position, put himself in position to win it, and he comes out on top. 2 winners in 5 races this season, Peter. It's crazy.
Yeah, Jared Bogart wins 3 of the first 4.
And Mogart's going to get a top 10.
Yeah, Mogart, he's got some damage on that machine, but he's going to finish in the 9th position. And unfortunately for those around him in points, really, they didn't have the greatest of nights either. I mean, you had Evan Black in the 92. He got involved in that last incident that brought out this final yellow. And the number 94 also got involved in a lot of trouble here tonight. So Corey Silvas, he's got quite a bit of damage on that machine. He didn't seem to have the pace there towards the end of the race. So Mogard, even with a 9th place finish, is going to add to that points lead, which is pretty impressive. He's got to keep an eye out for Will Worsler, though, because Will's got 2 wins in the first 5.
Well, it's either Will starts on the pole and he doesn't win the race, or he does not start on the pole and wins the race. So Will's been had an up and down season, but he's going to capture his second win of the season, and it's going to be a relief knowing that, hey, I got a couple wins under my belt so far this season, and we're still in the early portion.
Yeah, and these cats are going to take a sabbatical from the Cup Series as we're going to move over to the Truck Series next week. In fact, it won't be until March 12th that these guys bring out their Cup cars again. So, you know, we're going to focus on trucks for the next few weeks, but I'm sure Will Worsler will be happy because he gets to rest on a win at Daytona for a month. That number 29 will cross the checkered flag stripe and win here at Daytona. And what a win it is. It's always special to win at a place like this because, you know, it's been a stressful 200 miles, and he can finally bring that machine to victory lane.
You know, there's sometimes a driver could say, man, I would like to go ahead and win at Monaco, but I would like to go ahead and win at Indianapolis, but I also want to arc my name in the Daytona history books.
Yeah, and that's being in the right place at the right time. That's how you do it. And Will Worsler definitely showed that to perfection here in that number 29 machine. As everyone comes by and gives him a congratulatory wave, I'm sure we'll get to see him burn it down here on the high banks of Daytona. And I don't think they want to be done. I think they want to go back to racing.
I mean, why not? I mean, come on, iRacing, let's get some green-white checkers in here. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, having a green-white checker at Daytona would be pretty impressive, especially after the show that these guys put on here tonight. And
I'm sure.
And number 29?
Yeah, I'm sure with the as the 29, Will Worsler, he's going to burn it down on the 18 degrees of banking here in Daytona. As he does, man. He's just burning it down, trying to burn it down. It's kind of hard to do with 18 degrees of banking. That's about as steep as, I'd say on a ranch house. A roof on a ranch house.
Yeah, it's definitely not too easy to do. He's just going to plant it in the wall and burn down those rear tires.
Yep. And as Will Worsler take a second victory of the season, Mitch Brown second, and Kelsey Rogers, the top 3 drivers we will get to talk to here on 3 Wide TV. But hey, I got to give a shout out to Michael Krobach and Richard Fletcher, and as well as Tim Knott. Those 3 drivers, whether they were up towards the front or even went to the back of the pack, and still made it back up towards the front. So good job on all three of those drivers. But let's go ahead and talk to Kelsey Rogers. Oh my goodness, I'm getting all these names mixed up here. But Kelsey Rogers, let's see if we can bring him up here and talk to him about towards the end of the race, or at least the last 25 laps.
Hey, go ahead, guys.
Hey, Kelsey, man, I tell you what, that was a crazy finish. I know it wasn't the finish you were hoping for. I know you wanted to get the victory lane. You were in position to do so. Tonight just wasn't the night. But you still have to be pretty proud of your finish and your run here in Daytona. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, anytime you can come out not sitting on pit road, it's a good night here. Give it up to Will. He made the right moves at the right time. I tried to do the same, but the cautions just didn't fall my way tonight. So we'll pack up and try again next week.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of next week will be actually the trucks. But our next scheduled race for the Cup Series is going to be at the Auto Club Speedway on March 12th. How do you feel about that track that's going to be upcoming for 100 laps?
I like Auto Club. Put the driver back into the equation here a little bit, rather than just running around making the right moves at the right time.
Yeah, and was your heart kind of pounding in the last closing moments of the laps? Because it just seemed like you had no choice but to be aggressive, of course, and you were just trying to place yourself in position, and especially the way the aerodynamics of this drafting package works here on iRacing in these Cup cars. Tell me about your opinions on all that.
Yeah, the group of guys running up front in this league is really fast. So you really got to be aggressive, especially here where there's nothing really that sets you apart. Drafting package, you need that help to make the pass, and that whether that guy behind you wants to help you or not, sometimes you got to make him a little bit.
Yeah, most definitely, Kelsey. But hey, man, I applaud your strategy move earlier. I was actually wrong about that. I was actually against it, in my opinion. But it turned out in your favor, and you kept the track position. So great going on that part, man. What a whale of a job you did to keep it up towards the front. Even though I had some rear end damage. I don't know where that came from, but nonetheless, you still came up the top three. Congratulations.
Hey, thanks, guys.
All right. We thank you, Kelsey, for joining us here, for taking the time to talk with us. But let's move down up to the second place position. Peter, you've caught up with Mitch Brown.
Yeah, Mitch Brown, driver number 51, SMS Solutions, Sim Marketing Solutions, Toyota Camry. And Mitch, you made that move there on what just so happened to be the final lap of green flag running. You got to the outside of Will. What could have been had you had another half of a lap? But great run for you tonight. Talk us through those last few laps.
That last run was very crazy. I took 2 tires the last pit stop, and I had Michael behind me, and I was just, he helped me get up there to the front in the lead. I was just gonna try to help him out, and if we both got clear, I was gonna drop down the bottom. If not, I was just gonna stay up there and try to best I can to stay in front of the bottom side.
Yeah, it seemed, and Tanner just mentioned this in the previous interview with Kelsey, that it seemed really, really tough to pass here tonight. And it seemed like these drivers had to be more aggressive than, as more aggressive than usual. Is that down to this drafting package that we currently have?
Yeah, it's the drafting package. It's not that. It's okay, but it's it needs more improvement. You really need a lot of people on the high side just to pass even 3 or 4 cars on the bottom side to make it work. It's just hopefully cross fingers. Next build they can revamp this draft package because it needs some work.
Yeah, well, next week we go to the Truck Series, and of course the Truck Series will be back here at Daytona. First off, are you running the Truck Series? And secondly, if you are, what about the truck? I mean, the truck drive's completely different here at Daytona. The draft package is very different, and the truck definitely has that suck up. Are you looking forward to Daytona?
Oh yeah, we're running full time next year for the trucks. We're gonna try to go win ourselves the championship this season. I finished second last year in the points. No, the truck package is great. I mean, they're definitely can get side by side racing. For most of the race, it's just this cup card and the draft package. It's good, but it's not good enough where you could be side by side for like an entire race or 40 or 50 laps.
Absolutely. And, you know, you had a rough race last week at Pocono. You bounced back with a great finish here tonight. The next Cup Series race will be at Auto Club. Do you look forward to Auto Club, even though it's about a month away?
Yeah, we're doing pretty well on Auto Club. It's a good track of mine. Just want to thank all the guys at Dirty Birds and Race and all of my teammates finished good today. And I want to give a shout out to Steve if you're watching. Hope you have a speedy recovery, man. Sucks what happened to you, but you know we want to see you back out here in the sim world and racing with us.
All right. Well, that is your second place finisher, Mitch Brown. Of course, he's talking about Steve Bohala. He's had some surgery, and hopefully he's watching here on 3-Wide TV. Mitch, we thank you for joining us here, and best of luck next week as we come right back here to the sands of Daytona Beach.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, well, Tanner Sharp is catching up with your race winner, driver number 29, Will Worsler. Tanner?
Yeah, I've caught up with Will Worsler, who captured his second win of the season in another dramatic style. Just maybe just as good, or maybe not as good as Bristol, but still very good here in Daytona. Will, congratulations on the win, bud.
Thanks, Tanner. Man, that was fun. That was some fun stuff there.
Tell me about it, though. I mean, you played the track position key again. Bristol, you took 4 tires to get that win on that last lap. Here, you decided to stay out for that track position, and boy, you really put yourself in that mix, and you come out on top just as that caution came out.
I'd love to say it was all my plan, but it wasn't really, man. I'm not good at restrictor plate tracks, and me and Troy just kind of planned on qualifying at the back and staying out of trouble the first half of the race and trying to keep our cars clean and get a top 10, hopefully, you know. And then I knew I had enough gas there on that last stop, and everybody else stopped, so I just stayed out. And it's kind of like Bristol, man. Everything had to go my way, and it did, you know.
Yeah, talk about a little bit about your race overall. You weren't really up towards the front majority of the race until that last caution, to where you just stayed out. It just seemed like the drafting, once drivers get side by side up towards the front, there's really nowhere to go.
Yeah,
talk about the roadblock of drafting.
I mean, when I just tried to stay on the inside and make good decisions. You know, it seemed like people wanted to take their chances on the outside, and then it would check up, and then the inside line would move, and I slowly just, you know, matriculated my way up through the field that way, kind of unintentionally. I just didn't want to get caught on the high line in front of an accident or behind an accident and get caught up in it. I wanted to be able to hit the apron and avoid them, which I think I avoided 3 this race. And it got crazy at times. I didn't know about the roadblock at the front until I got there, and that worked out in my favor as well. You know, I had to do what I had to do to get around Kelsey there a couple of times. Me and him and Mitch were mixing it up, and dude, it got wild, and like I said, went all of it went my way.
Wild, intense, crazy is a way to sum it up here in Daytona. But hey, you got to be relieved to get out of Daytona here. I know it's fun restricted plate racing and all, but 2 questions here I'm going to throw at you. A, there's going to be the Truck Series here on 3Y that's broadcasted starting up here in ASRS and starting next week. How do you feel about that if you're driving it? And secondly, for the Cup Series, the next race is going to be in March, I believe, at the Auto Club Speedway. And how do you feel about that racetrack?
As far as Auto Club, I love the track. I'm not really that good at it, but you know, same goal as every race, man. I hope to keep my car clean and get a top 10, and we'll just have to see what happens. But the truck races, I've been wishy-washy on whether to do them or not. But you know, I mean, it's of course, you know, I just want to race, so I'm like, yeah, bring them trucks on right now. But we'll just have to see when next week rolls around.
All right, well, I'm going to let you go, let you celebrate with your team here this evening. Congratulations on the win, man. I hope to see you in Victory Lane more often because, man, you know how to put it in such an exciting style.
Thank you, Tanner. I need to thank Troy Haight for letting me represent him in Hater Racing. And I've been told that there's some guys that have been down and out for different reasons. Steve Bahula and Jim's dad. I want to wish them quick recovery and get well. And it's good to see Lee Staples back tonight as well.
All right, you heard the man. That is Will Worsler, folks, winning the race here tonight in Daytona. He's also gained 3 spots in the points with this win, so he's now second in points unofficially. But, Peter, I do believe you've caught up with Mr. Jim Foose.
And Jim Freeze, this is Peter Short up here in the 3-Wide TV booth. And I know your race was a little topsy-turvy back there in the number 42. First off, tell us a little bit about your race, but also then tell us a little bit about what you have planned for this league. We got the trucks coming up, and then we also have a charity event coming up soon.
Yeah, our race was going really good. And, unfortunately, the lap car just kind of got in the way. And I've known Andy Veltman now for 2 or 3 years and have absolutely never had a problem with him. But that was kind of a dumb move, I think, for a lap car to kind of stay in there. And I feel he came up. I got one look at the broadcast on the DVR, and it looked like he came up a little bit. I just think it was kind of a dumb move and just really a bad place for it to happen. And luckily, we were able to get it in the grass and spin it down without really collecting any other cars other than the one that I bounced off of, and he got a couple more. But it could have been a lot bigger than it was. We were running 6th or 7th when it happened. So could have been a really, really big mess. It could have been the big one, and I'm just glad that it wasn't, and that we were able to get our Maxwell Polco Intercon Chevy Camaro ZL1 out of the way so that we didn't collect any innocent victims.
Yeah, it definitely was looking good for you. You'd made your way forward quite a bit at that point, and you kept that number 42 nice and clean up to that point. So definitely a shame there, but we got trucks next week, and we get to re-rack everyone back here at Daytona.
Yeah, the truck race back next week. 25 races this year, all with you guys, and it's also part of the Sam Maxwell Customs Premier Series. Obviously, it's the Sam Maxwell Customs Truck Series, so that's coming up at Daytona. We got that special event that you guys mentioned, the Janet Watkins Memorial Pulmonary Fibrosis Awareness 250 at Iowa. I think that's going to be a blast. It's in memory of my grandma who passed away last November. And we're going to be announcing the charity of choice for the race and a few other things that are coming up in the coming weeks. So a lot of buzz around that race. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a true day to night race with that. So it's going to start in the late afternoon and roll into the darkness of night. The lights are going to come on. Everything's going to change. And it's 250 laps. That's a long time to be out there driving around one of these cup cars. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're definitely going to be looking forward to all those events coming here on 3-Wide TV. I personally am definitely looking forward to the trucks. I know those trucks put on a great show here at Daytona, and I'm sure, hopefully, a lot of the people watching here will be back next week as well.
Yeah, before I go, I want to say hi to Steve Buhala, my teammate. He brought us Maxwell as a sponsor and has done a lot for our team, done a lot for me. He is recovering from his hip surgery. And, of course, my dad's probably watching from his hospital bed tonight. So he has an infection in his leg that they believe is in the blood now. So they're kind of iffy on that, trying to figure out where everything is. But hoping that he makes a full recovery and we get to go to some races this summer. But hopefully he got to watch. If not, he's probably watching reruns of Criminal Minds right now because that's what I left on his TV. So he's having an eventful night no matter what.
All right. Well, before we let you go, Jim, any other further shout-outs for the league?
Yeah, just a big thank you to Todd Kirkwood from Sim Marketing Solutions, Sam Maxwell from Sam Maxwell Customs. Kevin Sargent didn't make the race tonight on time. He failed to qualify from Sackett and Brake Survey. They sponsored the race. He stepped up. He sponsored our super late model series on asphalt. And has just been a great member to this league. He's a new member and has just invested a lot of himself in the league to try to help out. And just does a lot for us. So really, those guys do a ton. Everybody that supports us every week. I mean, we're getting 40 plus cars at these races, and I think we'll have quite a few more at the truck race next week. So it's a good time to be a member here, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, I don't personally like finishing under caution. I don't think anybody does. But these races are a lot of fun. I was really nervous coming into this, and I had a really good time other than my slide for life through the grass.
Absolutely, Jim. Well, we thank you for joining us up here in the booth. We can't wait for next week and what's to come here in the ASRS series.
Oh, one other thing. I do want to thank Carlos and everybody at 3 Wide TV. You know, you guys came on late. We made this deal. We got you guys in here. We got everything rolling really quick. And you guys have really, really busted your tails trying to get everything right. You're learning everybody's name and learning all the drivers. We appreciate all the effort that the staff over there. And Carlos has been very, very open-armed and welcoming to our league. And we're very thankful for him. And like I said, for everybody at 3 Wide TV, for everything you guys have done for the league. We love it. We love our announcers. We love everything that we have with you guys. And it's just a great package all around.
Alrighty, well, thanks, Jim. And man, Tanner, that really was a spectacular race here tonight. Some great close racing, and that's been that way every race here in the ASRS season.
Boy, I always love myself some good old restrictor plate racing, but this racing this season in the ASRS SMS Cup Series, man, has just been crazy and chaotic and a lot of fun to watch. I mean, I still think Bristol was the top dog this year as far as the finish was concerned. But regardless, you got two different winners so far this season in the first 5 races. Is anybody able to stop Will Wursler or Jared Mogard? We're going to find that out in the Cup Series side on March 12th, 2019 at Auto Club Speedway for the Sim Designs Concept California Dreamin' 200.
Absolutely, but before we get there, talking about winners, let's go through the finishing order. Will Wursler is your race winner tonight, driver of that number 29 Hitter Racing Machine. And right behind him was Mitch Brown in second. Kelsey Rogers led 33 laps tonight, and he finishes in the third position. Michael Krobach was up there in the front for pretty much the entire race in that number 72. He finishes fourth. Richard Fletcher, his first race of the year, he got fifth place in that number 47 fourth. Tim Knott finishes in the sixth position. Josh Walker started up there on the front row, I do believe, started P2 and finishes 7th. Jared Haggerty finishes 8th. Jared Mogard, your points leader, finishes 9th. Edward Bray rounds out your top 10.
Outside that top 10, Mr. Alan Young, even though it's not a top 10 finish, but it's still a solid finish. After starting 34th today, he finishes in 11th. Tyler Sawville finishes in 12th after starting 33rd. Jamie Vaughn saw some trouble today, but he'll settle for 13th. Travis Rucker in 14th. Richard Stallings in 15th. Troy Haight will finish 16th. Number 1, Jason Stewart will finish in the 17th spot. And in 18th place, Joe Burchett, league organizer, who we just heard from, Mr. Jim Foose, finishes in 19th. And running out the top 20, our pole sitter for today's race was Clarence Bonner.
And in the 21st position, we saw Jeremy Banning, who had a great run going up near the front. Unfortunately, got into some trouble there at the end. And 22nd was Alexander Pelican. Corey Silva is 23rd. Sam Maxwell finished 24th. Brian Yazik finished 25th. I'm sure not the finish he was hoping for tonight. Evan Black, the first man multiple laps down, in 26th. Andy Veltman finished 27th. Jack Wells, 28th. Robbie Baskins, 29th. Stephen Trombley, 30th.
31st, Pete Baskins, and 32nd, Danny Rogers. Brad Cross, 33rd here tonight. Lee Staples will finish 34th. 35 is Scott Smith, and rounding out the 36 car field that started tonight's event is Alex Geese.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, like you've heard from Tanner Sharp, the Cup Series will be back at you in about a month from now on March 12th. But next week, we got Daytona Part Dos. It's the Truck Series, the Sam Maxwell Truck Series here on 3 Wide TV. We will be bringing it to you next Tuesday here again. We want to give a shout out before we go to Sim TV, thanking them for using the cameras. Thank you to Tanner Sharp for joining me up here in the booth as always, and Carlos Acosta for these excellent shots from all over the racetrack. They do a great job putting together these broadcasts each and every week. But until next week, we say goodbye.